It's Amy Parvane from Select Advisors Institute. I wanted to create a video today to address something that I'm seeing with a lot of our coaching clients around sales management. And that happens to be that many of them go into interview mode when they are sitting down with a prospect. Now, what's interview mode? Interview mode is when we don't know who's making the decision on working with whom. Remember, when you're in a prospect meeting, you're both interviewing each other. And many times when you're the one who looks like you're a job candidate, it ends up actually decreasing the credibility of your platform and practice, and puts the prospect in the bigger seat and in charge, which is not the position you want to be in, especially if you're in the service industry and you want to showcase that you will take control of what they have to give to you to take care of. So if, for example, they want to hand over their wealth to you, if you're just in a job mode and an interview mode, that actually makes the person feel that you're junior and you may not have the experience that they're looking for. So I wanted to make this video to first address what are some signs of being in interview mode and how can you combat that, and how can you make sure that you go from interview mode to conversation and solving complex situations with your prospect. So let's get started. For those of you guys not familiar with who I am, Amy Parvane, again, CEO of Select Advisors Institute. We are a sales management and sales coaching firm based in Newport Beach with clients all over the world. And our clients tend to be those in the service industry, specifically in the financial, legal, and accounting firms and world. But we work with anyone who's really looking to be in a sales mode for their service. So let's get started, and thanks a lot for joining us. Okay, guys, so before I talk about how to not be in interview mode, I want to first find out if you even know when you are in interview mode. And that way you'll know when not to go into that route. What is interview mode? Interview mode is when you look like you are applying for a job and you look desperate and you look like you don't belong. Instead, what we want to do is do the opposite, that we want to showcase that we're interviewing each other and that you are the expert who will have the credibility and the experience to handle what this person's challenges are. So you do not want to go in too much of an interview mode. A little bit is okay because you are applying technically for the job. But if it goes too much, like your resume is basically in front of them, that's not going to help you really close opportunities fast. So let's talk about some of the signs of someone being in interview mode. Well, the first clear sign is when you literally are just answering questions. So the person says, tell me a little bit more about you. You go into telling them a little bit more about you. They talk about, tell me how your process is. You go straight into answering what your process is. And so you just become like answering questions. And that's clearly a sign of interview mode. You know, when you go in an interview and at the end they say, well, do you have any questions for me? That's not, what we want to get into. The second way that showcases you're really in interview mode is if you keep bragging about your credentials and your resume. Well, we are some of the top in the industry. We have this, we have that, we have that. It's just like, a laundry list of things about you. And again, picture it like you're literally going down your resume and going through your career experience. So number two is if you're just like going line item by line item of your job experience. Again, do you guys see how this is becoming like an interview rather than a conversation? The third one I've addressed a little bit, but it's more answering closed-ended questions. So for example, if the person says, do you guys do financial planning as well as wealth management? You just say, yes, we do. And it just ends up being like a close end. So it ends up, again, feeding into this loop of question and answer. And the answers are yes or no. And so you just keep answering even more questions. And I'll talk about how to address these questions which are like dead ends, you do not want to get into that category. The number 4 thing is if there's really no time that's being allowed for the person you're sitting down in front of to ask or answer any questions about themselves. They have gone into so much of an interviewer category that they seem like they are the employer now, and we barely know anything about them because all they're doing is asking us questions. That's the last thing you want, because that's not going to help you close any opportunities. If all you're doing is asking questions, and it's not going to help us close any or much business, because all you're doing is really, answering questions and really not allowing the tables to turn and having the person to talk about themselves. Remember, at the end of the day, we really want the person to talk about themselves so we know what problems we could solve. And the number 5 way that you've kind of cornered yourself into an interview mode is if you leave empty-handed. There's been so little conversation done that you don't even know what the next steps are. We have not opened this person up for any type of talking, so we kind of almost leave it like a job interview where we say, okay, when can I expect to hear back from you? You don't want to expect to hear back from someone. You want to have a lot of stuff that you could follow up with them. So that's the number 5 way. Okay, guys, so we've talked about what are some very clear signs that you've cornered yourself into interview mode, as if you're literally just searching for a job. And that's not, again, where we want to be. You want to be in conversation mode, in a mode that creates momentum and that will lead to actual next steps. So let's talk about how to not get into interview mode, or if you've found yourself all of a sudden in that twilight zone, how to get yourself out of it and get back into conversation mode. Okay, so the first way you could easily get back into a very relaxed conversation with a prospect is to, this is going to sound very bold and controversial at the beginning, but to never answer a question. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you never want to answer a question. Very simple. Do you do wealth management? That's a really great question. Let me first find out what you mean by wealth management, because wealth management could be categorized into so many different sectors. It could be, and I bring this up because some people don't even know what wealth management is. So do you have much of a color into what you mean by wealth management? That way you're opening the person up and taking a question into more of a conversation. What kind of legal services do you guys provide, and what's been your track record? Well, track record is really difficult to answer when we're talking about different fields in law. What are some ways you will be judging someone by an outcome in a matter? So again, these are just, without knowing much about your industry or specific firm, I'm just ballparking here. But again, you really want to convert that into why they're asking that question. Where is it leading to? You do not want to showcase how smart you are. You want to showcase that you understand what this person is saying and where he or she is coming from. So that's really important, and it's leading with emotional intelligence rather than, IQ. The second way you could take yourself out of interview mode and convert it back into a conversation is by a little bit of talking about you and quickly converting it back to them. So for example, if they say, I want to find out how your firm is any different than our firm, you could say a little bit like, well, that's a really great question. We first do the following 2 things, but let me ask you, what's been your experience with some of the firms you've worked with? This quickly gets the person from, again, back and forth ping pong into more of a longer discussion about what they are really, looking for, and not just about you. The third thing you could do to convert something from an interview to a conversation is to flat out sit back and enjoy this conversation. Enjoy the fact that you're sitting in front of someone who may be your potential next client, and show them that, that energy that you will bring to the table. Remember, if the energy level is so sharp and so, stressed, tense, that person will feel it. So if you're a little bit more relaxed and your body language, even if it's on, virtual meetings, shows that, that really will make the person feel disarmed and really relaxed to talk to you. The number 4 way you could really showcase that, you're not a job candidate, but someone's potential next advisor, is to mentally picture yourself being their advisor and having your quarterly meetings with them. And just picture how that will be and the ways you will talk with them, that you no longer need this job and you actually have it now. So that mode will bring down your anxiety level and help you feel really calm in front of this person. And the number 5 way that you could really move out of a zone that we've been talking about for a while and really convert it into something that will be potentially leading to the next meeting, is to build a story for what you do and really kind of showcase who you are as a person, not what you do. I know this sounds so obvious, and we've talked about this a lot, about humanizing your practice. But if the person in front of you is really, they're in their mind psychologically, they're not just listening to you, they're seeing what you're talking about and what you have to bring to. That storytelling really goes a long way. Okay, so I know a lot of this is hypothetical because I don't know your practice as well, but I wanted to make sure you at least get the high levels. And if you needed to speak further about this, reach out to us. There's a link below, and I hope to see you on our next meeting like this. Thank you.